Temper, temper, temper is arising. Ladies and gentlemen, the boogeyman of the 140-pound division and WBA champion, Gary Antuanne Russell, has called out Richardson Hitchins. And if you've been following the channel, you already know you're now tuned in to Punch Drunk Boxing, a.k.a. Mr. Moonshine himself. I've been telling y'all that people are reluctant to mention the name Gary Antuanne Russell. People are ducking the name Gary Antuanne Russell. People trying to sweep Gary Antuanne Russell's name under the rug. As we all know that Richardson Hitchins beat George Camboso, right? And in the post-fight interview, he called out Devin the Dream Haney. But Devin is going to the 147-pound division. I understand that Bill Haney was calling out Richardson Hitchins during the press conference, and Devin Haney and Richardson Hitchins tweeting all over the place and stuff like that. And we understand that he also called out Teofimo Lopez, the lineal Ring Magazine champion, WBO champion, the king of the 140-pound division, right? That's a great unification bout. But Gary Antuanne Russell is the guy that has beaten Richardson Hitchins 4 times in the amateurs. He's the kryptonite to Richardson Hitchins. And it's just that Richardson Hitchins, who's great performance. It's weird that he's not calling out the guy that kept him from going to the USA, to represent the USA Olympics, right, in 2016. And the guy that got bumped out of the Olympics when Richardson Hitchins did, represented Haiti. And then he fought Gary Antuanne Russell, and Gary Antuanne Russell bumped him. Why Richardson Hitchins ain't calling out Gary Antuanne Russell to get that smoke back, right? We like amateur stories. We want to see Keyshawn Davis versus Andy Cruz, right? We was talking about the 6 fights that Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia had, right? We wanted to see that fight, right? Because of the amateur background. Now, let's read what Gary Antuanne Russell had to say. He says, "How can a guy lose to me 4 times in amateurs? We both have belts in the same division, and yet you don't even want to fight me. Boxing is getting soft, for real. I'll fight anyone as long as it makes sense, money or legacy." Somebody asked them on Twitter, they said, Richardson Hitchins fight Gary Antuanne for the WBA and the IBF unification bout. Winner of Puello, Matias, can fight Teo. 2 fights undisputed. Yeah, it's heating up in the 140-pound division, right? Gary Antuanne Russell replied, "I'm with that. I'll fight any of them. They pussy footing." Man. Yep. This is the first time that, Gary Antuanne Russell, man, really said something pussy footing. You know what I'm saying? Pussy footing. He's talking about Richardson Hitchins, talking about Puello, talking about Matias, talking about Teo, his boy Teo. Y'all already know that Teo was coming up. They're friends. They like family. They real friends. They've been friends since they was like 8 years old and stuff like that. Teofimo Lopez really never have truly called out Gary Antuanne Russell. He was in the Boxing Voice the other day, and yesterday, and Teofimo Lopez was asked, "Would you fight Gary Antuanne Russell?" He said, you know what I'm saying? He was shying away from not getting into calling him out. He has a lot of respect for him. Tweezy's like family and things of that nature. But Teofimo Lopez, the guy that also said, I remember when Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis wouldn't fight one another, and Teofimo Lopez was outspoken and saying that there's no friends in boxing. He said that too when it came to Rolly Romero, when Rolly Romero went to the 140-pound division, right? And he got a world title, and Teofimo Lopez was like, you know what, he's going to keep me from my destiny and becoming undisputed or unifying the titles. Right now, you in my lane. And he said that there's no friends in boxing. So why would it be friends in boxing now? And this is what Teofimo Lopez, well, I was going to show you the clip, but I'll put a description of the interview that he had yesterday with the Boxing Voice and stuff like that, in which he was talking about the potential Gary Antuanne Russell fight. Now, look, I think that if there's any fight, right, in a 140-pound division, yes, we understand that Teofimo Lopez's name is lucrative. That's a fight I would like to see. He step inside a ring to try to build this potential fight between the unification bout between him and Richardson Hitchins. Both of these guys got the same manager, Keith Connolly. That's an easy fight to make. Hopefully that Turkey Out Shake will want to see that fight. Both of these guys have great momentum, but also Gary Antuanne Russell got great momentum as well. And if there's anybody that Richardson Hitchins should be wanting, he should be wanting to fight Gary Antuanne Russell. Maybe the reason why he don't want to call his name is because he's been losing to him throughout his whole life, boxing life. But a lot of people say, well, the pros is different. The pros is different. Look, I think that Gary Antuanne Russell got great momentum. Richardson Hitchins got great momentum. Teofimo Lopez got great momentum. Puello, Matias, whoever's going to be the winner is going to be having great momentum. This is what we like to see in the sport of boxing. When we have the best fighting the best and unification bouts, we want to see the guys that have great momentums, right? A Devin Haney, a potential fight with Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez, that's a good fight, right? But right now, let's talk about the 140-pound division. If Devin Haney want to mix it up and come right back to the 140-pound division, he could be in the mix. If people want to move up to 147-pound division, I believe that still be a good fight, whether it's Richardson Hitchins, whether Gary Antuanne Russell, whether Teofimo Lopez moving up to 147, in which probably they eventually going to all be moving up, right? Fight of Devin Haney, you know what I'm saying, as well. But Teo versus Richardson Hitchins, I believe is the primary fight right now in the 140-pound division. But the fight that Richardson Hitchins should want the most should be Gary Antuanne Russell and get his licks back. But people are reluctant to say his name. People are shy saying Gary Antuanne Russell. And I don't want the fans to say, well, he need a promoter. You know what I'm saying? He need a promoter to speak for him. Everybody knows who the champion in the 140-pound division. You a hardcore boxing fan? I'm a hardcore boxing fan. I know who Gary is. You know who Gary is. Richardson Hitchins exactly know who Gary is. Gary Russell also have beaten Jerome Bruce Ennis, right? He's the kryptonite to both these guys. He's beaten Jermaine Ortiz as well. This Gary Antuanne Russell was the #1 fighter in 2016 in the sport of boxing, alongside with Shakur Stevenson, Teo, Clarissa Shields. They used to, you know what I'm saying, travel together and things of that nature, right? But Gary Antuanne Russell was the guy that he was the man. He was the man that was beating Boots Ennis and Richardson Hitchins. So, Richardson Hitchins, Brooklyn, New York. Let's go. Get that unification bout versus Gary Antuanne Russell or Teofimo Lopez in the 140-pound division. If you want to wait for the Puello Matias, Gary Antuanne Russell was the guy that everybody is reluctant to call out. And if the fans don't call out for this fight, even the media, even the zone, they don't want to mention Gary Antuanne Russell's name. I want everybody right now in the boxing to stop. Don't shy away from mentioning his name, because because if we don't mention his name and the media doesn't mention his name, these fighters ain't going to mention his name, just like we saw in the post-fight interview with Richardson Hitchins. We got to call it out. This is a great unification bout. Both of these guys in their prime. Both of these guys got speed and power. This is a great dynamic fight in the pros, a unification bout, 140-pound division. All the champions is lit. It's going to be lit. Whoever wins from Puello Matias is going to be a credible win, so it's going to be lit. If Puello beats Matias, then he has beaten Sando Martin, Matias, and Gary Antuanne Russell, right? The Gary Antuanne Russell rematch with Puello will be a good fight. If Matias beat Puello, then you got Puerto Rico, Matias, a potential fight with him and Gary Antuanne Russell, potential fight with him and Richardson Hitchins out there that in Brooklyn, New York as well. Well, Boricuas, Teofimo Lopez and Matias, they were supposed to be fighting, you know, last year. So the 140-pound division is alive and well, and yo, and this summer's gonna heat up. The 140-pound division is gonna heat up in conversation. I think that's gonna be the 140 and 154-pound division. Right now, those are the pit stop division, meaning that the 140 was like where the lightweights, they go to 140 for a bit and then they go to the welterweight division. The 154-pound division is the landmines, right? Anybody could get it, anybody could win it. And you know what? The champions, the elite, at 140 is the landmines as well. If you don't come prepared, if you're not 100%, Teo could lose to Gary. Gary could lose to Teo. Teo could be Richardson Hitchins. Richardson Hitchins, if Teo don't come correct, everybody, if somebody don't come correct, you're gonna get beaten. Let me know what y'all think, man. Subscribe to the channel, smash the like button. Love you, God bless, and on to the next.